Some viewers will find these words challenging to hear. There will be others who feel an undeniable spotlight shining on their deepest thoughts, because this message is not intended to flatter everyone indiscriminately. It serves as a dividing line, separating those who are simply living an ordinary existence from those who have been clearly chosen for a higher path. If you have continued watching up to this point, understand that your presence here is absolutely not a coincidence. What if we reconsider the profound internal struggles and persistent doubts you've been grappling with? What if they are not symptoms of a fundamental weakness in your character, but rather a powerful form of spiritual resistance against the enormous, untapped power you inherently possess? This is a crucial point, and I ask you to listen with an open and receptive heart. This particular message is highly specialized and is genuinely not for the masses. Some individuals will feel a growing sense of discomfort the very moment these concepts are introduced, because true, unvarnished truth rarely provides comfort to a person who is spiritually unprepared to receive it. However, if you are still with me, if there is a core part of you that feels a sudden, sharp alertness instead of a mounting sense of fear or dread, it is because this precise moment in time was meticulously orchestrated just for you. You did not stumble upon this video through a series of random clicks or algorithm suggestions. You arrived here at the exact moment when your spirit was finally ready, capable of receiving this deep confirmation without immediately rejecting it out of disbelief or fear. There is a precise, powerful reason why your full attention has locked onto these words. There is a reason why your heart is beating with a slightly quickened, undeniable rhythm right now. For an incredibly long time, you have been plagued by self-questioning. You always felt fundamentally different from those around you, but you could never quite pinpoint the reason why this separation existed. You carried an undeniable depth of soul in a world that often felt shallow and superficial. You demonstrated profound strength during seasons that were designed explicitly to crush you. You possessed a level of awareness that often left you feeling deeply isolated rather than celebrated or understood by your peers. You have been tested, often in absolute silence. You have been grossly misunderstood without anyone offering you a proper explanation. You have found yourself separated from others without warning or clear cause. And the most debilitating, exhausting aspect of all of this was never the pain itself. It was the insidious, creeping doubt. It was that raw internal question that you never quite dared to voice fully. Why me? Why was I given this challenging, circuitous path? Why does life seem to bear down on me so much heavier than it does on everyone else I see? Today, I can confirm that that haunting question finally ends. The period of paralyzing self-doubt is over. The reason is simple and absolute. You are not just someone who was chosen. I want you to understand that you are among the very few, the most powerful and highly selected of the chosen ones. The unmistakable signs that have been actively surrounding your entire life have now become so clear that it is genuinely impossible to rationally ignore them any longer. In the next part of this message, I am going to clearly and concisely reveal 5 distinct, utterly undeniable signs. These are not superficial observations or vague, generalized platitudes. They are deep, precise confirmations that will align perfectly with everything you have been instinctively sensing, feeling, and even actively resisting in yourself for what feels like a lifetime. The most vital takeaway is this: by the time you finish listening to this entire message, the paralyzing confusion you have carried will begin to beautifully organize itself into perfect clarity. The pain and suffering you endured will finally be revealed as a purposeful necessity. The isolation you questioned and fought against will finally reveal its profound, hidden purpose, and crucially, you will no longer perceive your life as a collection of random, unfortunate events. Instead, you will see it as a precise, meticulously ordered sequence of preparation and training for something monumental. Before we proceed one step further, I want you to make a deliberate, conscious action. I want you to hit the like button on this video because this act of agreement actively amplifies your alignment with this truth. If you have not yet subscribed, I urge you to do so now because messages of this profound nature only reach those who are truly meant to stay connected and moving forward. Finally, I want you to comment the number 99. Do not do this as a mere habit or simply because it is a current trend. Do it as a profound spiritual marker. The number 99 represents the spiritual concept of completion before transition. It is the precise moment just before a powerful, undeniable elevation occurs in your life. If you are still actively watching, it is a definitive sign that your phase of intense confirmation has already begun, and the truths that will follow will absolutely challenge every preconceived notion you have ever held about the magnitude of your own personal power. There is a deeply rooted reason why your mere presence has always carried a substantial weight, even in those moments when you consciously attempted to minimize or shrink yourself to fit in. True, authentic power does not announce its arrival with fanfare. It does not enter a room loudly demanding attention. It certainly does not seek permission or applause from the crowd. Real authority moves with an unshakable, profound silence. When that genuine authority arrives, the entire environment responds immediately, often long before a single word is ever spoken. You have likely been aware of this phenomenon without fully grasping its origin. The moment you step into certain physical spaces, something noticeably shifts. Conversations either soften and deepen or abruptly cease. The entire energy field of the room changes entirely. Some people feel an unexplained sense of calm, as if a hidden, long-standing tension has simply dissolved because you are there. Conversely, others suddenly become restless, guarded, or acutely uneasy, and they cannot articulate why they feel that way. I promise you, this is not a product of your imagination. This is not some random social coincidence. This is the inherent, natural authority of your spirit actively engaging and activating the room around you. You do not consciously try to force this reaction. You do not perform or try to earn it. It occurs simply because your spirit has been uniquely shaped by intense pressure, by enduring unimaginable hardship, and by those crucial, defining moments where you absolutely had to remain standing when collapsing would have been the path of least resistance. Authority of this rare caliber cannot be practiced or rehearsed. It is forged in fire. It is the unshakable residue left behind after a series of brutal trials that meticulously stripped you bare, and then painstakingly rebuilt you stronger from the inside out. When a chosen one enters any space, the unseen spiritual forces in that room respond first and foremost. Before rational logic can catch up, before personalities can interact, before even a single word is exchanged, the atmosphere already knows exactly who has arrived. This explains why certain people often look at you for a full second longer than is socially expected. This is why some feel an unexplainable compulsion to speak their truth to you, to confess things they never intended to say, or to suddenly open deep emotional doors without having any idea what powerful force triggered it. Your very presence acts as a powerful, unavoidable mirror. It forces hidden things to the surface. For those who are already living in alignment with their truth, it feels like an enormous relief. For those who are consciously hiding from their truth, it feels like sudden, uncomfortable exposure. And here is the most crucial part of this realization. You are doing nothing fundamentally wrong when this occurs. You are not inherently intimidating. You are not cold, distant, or aloof. The truth is you are simply carrying a spiritual frequency that is incapable of negotiating or making peace with falsehood. Many times you have questioned yourself severely. You wondered if you were simply too intense, too quiet, too fundamentally different, or perhaps just too difficult for others to easily read. But the truth is much simpler, yet paradoxically much heavier at the same time. Your presence carries this undeniable authority because you survived deep, harrowing experiences that forcefully accelerated your soul's maturity. While many others were merely learning how to perform and impress, You were learning the true meaning of endurance. While others were carefully protected by comfort and ease, you were rigorously trained by unrelenting pressure. That intense training fundamentally changed the way you move, the way you look, and the way you feel to those around you. Now take a moment and genuinely observe how you behave when placed under extreme stress. When genuine chaos erupts all around you, you do not simply dissolve. When others immediately descend into panic, you instinctively observe and assess. When emotions spiral out of control, you remain the unwavering anchor in the storm. This incredible emotional mastery was not learned from self-help books or casual advice. It was born from pure, painful repetition. It came from having to consistently regulate your own emotional state when absolutely no one else was there to help. It came from the necessity of holding your ground with unshakable resolve when life relentlessly tested your absolute limits. That profound calm you carry is not a sign of passivity or weakness. It is a form of dominance achieved without making a single noise. It is pure strength that feels no compelling need to prove itself to anyone. This is also precisely why certain people begin to slowly and quietly pull themselves away from you. It is not because you intentionally hurt them, nor is it because you failed to meet their expectations. It is because your very presence creates a spiritual environment that demands alignment, and the uncomfortable truth is that not everyone is truly willing to face who they genuinely are when confronted with that mirror. When unvarnished truth is near, when your spiritual authority naturally increases, comfort inevitably decreases for those individuals who are living their lives out of alignment with their true selves. They feel deeply seen without ever being physically looked at. They feel challenged at their core without ever being outwardly confronted. And instead of choosing to rise to meet your level, they instinctively retreat. This movement away from you is not a form of personal rejection. It is a powerful form of unwilling recognition. Do not waste your energy chasing after those who choose to step back. Do not, under any circumstances, shrink your true self to make other people feel more comfortable. The spiritual authority you possess was dearly earned through intense, isolated seasons where you had no choice but to stand completely alone, and I assure you that authority will only intensify and deepen from this moment forward. And here is the profound truth that most people tragically fail to grasp. This spiritual authority is only the outermost surface layer. It is merely the first clearly visible confirmation, but it is by no means the final one. Because once you fully accept and understand why your presence has the innate ability to shift the energy in rooms, you are finally ready to confront the knowledge of what shifts realities. And that, my friend, is exactly where the next undeniable sign begins to powerfully reveal itself to you. If you look back honestly at your life's narrative, there are chapters, moments of such intense pressure, that should not have logically concluded with you still standing upright. There were numerous moments when the emotional and spiritual pressure was more than heavy enough to utterly break most people you know. There were situations where just one single wrong decision could have completely erased everything you had built. There were entire seasons when the crushing weight on your mind, your body, and your spirit should have logically taken you under completely. And yet, defying all logic, here you stand, not entirely unscathed, but miraculously preserved. Not unmarked, but powerfully alive. This is far beyond simple luck. This is not a string of random, fortunate coincidences. This is clear evidence of divine protection, actively operating consistently beyond the limits of your human awareness. There were numerous paths you came incredibly close to taking that would have ultimately ruined your life. There were decisions you were on the very brink of making that would have cost you exponentially more than you could have possibly understood at the time. And yet, somehow, some powerful unseen force always intervened. A sudden, frustrating delay, a rapid change of plans, or a door that slammed shut in your face, and felt terribly unfair in that moment. You felt intensely frustrated by these events. You were profoundly confused. You may have even felt personally rejected by life itself. But what you could not possibly see then is precisely what you are now prepared to fully comprehend. Those perceived losses were not divine punishments for a mistake you made. They were, in fact, incredibly precise rescue operations. Invisible hands were actively redirecting your steps in moments when your personal vision was too limited to see the danger ahead. Think carefully about the numerous doors that shut without giving you any explanation, the relationships that suddenly and abruptly ended, the exciting opportunities that evaporated right when you finally believed they were securely yours. At the time of the event, it felt overwhelmingly like the entire universe was working actively against your progress. In truth, something far greater was consistently working for you, with a level of precision you were not yet spiritually ready to comprehend. You were being systematically removed from specific environments that would have contaminated the purity of your spirit. You were being surgically separated from dynamics that would have permanently drained your intrinsic power. Protection does not always arrive with a gentle touch. Sometimes it truly feels like a profound loss, but it remains protection nonetheless. You have also been an unavoidable witness to something else that is utterly impossible to ignore. There have been attacks launched against you that simply never fully landed. There were malicious plans made by others that collapsed completely without your even having to get involved. Words spoken against your character that utterly failed to produce the damage they intended. Individuals who actively tried to block your path, manipulate your efforts, or totally derail your destiny ended up becoming hopelessly entangled in the devastating consequences of their own actions. And you did virtually nothing. You did not engage in a fight. You did not offer a detailed explanation. You did not even actively defend your own name, and yet the intended negative outcome resolved itself in your favor. This is not a sign that you are passive or disengaged. It is definitive proof that you are covered and shielded. When a calling on your life is genuinely authentic and powerful, the defense mechanism is intrinsically built right into your destiny's architecture. An additional crucial layer of this divine protection reveals itself consistently through your intuition. There were numerous moments when a strong, inexplicable feeling inside you screamed, "Stop, turn back, do not go there, do not trust this person, wait." You couldn't always find a logical explanation for the feeling. There was no concrete, physical evidence to support it. But the internal feeling was so compelling and strong that it forcefully changed your direction. And later, you saw clearly what devastating circumstances you had successfully avoided. You recognized the danger only after it had safely passed you by. That sophisticated inner alert system is not simple fear or anxiety. It is pure, precise guidance. It is a powerful spiritual early warning system, meticulously designed to keep you completely aligned and spiritually intact. Let me be perfectly clear, you are not protected because you are weak or incapable. You are protected because what you inherently carry is so valuable that it cannot be easily replaced. Storms will, without a doubt, still come your way. But I want you to start noticing a distinct pattern in their wake. They consistently break things all around you, but they consistently fail to break you. Where others lose stability, clarity, or direction, you simply adapt. You recover, you rise stronger than before. Even when you are completely exhausted, even when you feel stretched to your absolute limit, something deep inside you continues to function flawlessly. That is immunity. It is not the complete absence of struggle. It is the absolute refusal of destruction. You must understand this truth with perfect clarity. Powerful callings on your life require an uncommon, relentless level of protection. Ordinary paths and average lives simply do not demand this intense level of divine intervention. The resistance you have survived and overcome was never intended to destroy you. It was meant to unmistakably reveal the sheer level of spiritual coverage that surrounds your destiny. And as your awareness of this truth continues to grow, that protection only intensifies, because the closer you intentionally move toward your true purpose, the more meticulously intentional your preservation becomes. And what you are about to realize next will brilliantly explain why the deep isolation and separation you endured were not random, unfortunate accidents, but meticulously calculated preparations for your inevitable elevation. There exists a particular type of profound loneliness that is not fundamentally caused by a simple lack of people surrounding you. It is caused entirely by an enormous difference in the core of your spirit. If you have felt this deep, pervasive loneliness your entire life, even when surrounded by crowds, even within friendships, even inside committed relationships, then you must listen very closely to this next truth. You were never too much for the world. You were not inherently difficult for others to understand. You were not strange for intensely craving depth of meaning when everyone else seemed perfectly content with superficial distractions. You are consistently experiencing a crucial sign that is tragically and often mistaken for a personal flaw. The constant, gnawing feeling of never fully belonging anywhere is one of the very earliest, most unmistakable fingerprints of a profoundly powerful calling on your life. You tried with great effort to fit in. You consciously attempted to adjust your tone, your pace, and your unshakable hunger for meaning. You forced a smile when it felt entirely unnatural. You forced yourself to stay in social spaces that utterly drained your energy because you desperately didn't want to be perceived as difficult. But no matter how perfectly you tried to blend in, something deep inside you always whispered a profound truth. This is not home for you. This feeling was not born out of a hatred for people, but because your powerful spirit absolutely refused to become permanently ordinary. And then, the inevitable began to happen. People started leaving your life. This was not always a dramatic conflict. Sometimes it happened through a gradual, quiet silence. Sometimes they simply changed fundamentally. Sometimes the connection between you just inexplicably died. Friendships ended abruptly with no clear, logical reason. Relationships dissolved right at the moment you finally believed they were stable and secure. Exciting paths you were ready to walk down closed unexpectedly. You were left standing there, holding questions that absolutely no one could answer for you. You endlessly replayed conversations in your mind. You wrongfully blamed yourself. You even questioned why the divine would allow so much painful separation in your life's journey. Here is the powerful truth most people will never hear because it sounds too intense for them to accept. Some of those endings were not attacks orchestrated against you. They were, in fact, spiritual extractions. You were being actively removed, not personally rejected. The divine was strategically pulling you out of environments that were fundamentally incapable of handling the powerful destination where you were heading. You were not losing people because you were unworthy of their companionship. You were losing people because your next level of existence requires an entirely different, refined atmosphere. Loneliness, in your particular case, was not a form of abandonment. It was a rigorous form of refinement. When the divine intends to sharpen an effective weapon, it does not leave it in the distraction of the crowd. It isolates it in a quiet place. When the divine intends to purify an already powerful voice, it does not leave it immersed in the world's noise. It pulls it into profound silence, and yes, that intense silence was deeply painful because it wasn't just quiet, it was a profound confrontation. It relentlessly forced you to face everything you had been actively avoiding. Your deeply ingrained habits, your unhealthy attachments, your desperate need for external approval, and your paralyzing fear of being completely misunderstood. Isolation achieved what comfort could never even attempt. It powerfully revealed what was truly real and enduring within you. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, you began to change at a fundamental level. You ceased chasing after social invitations that did not genuinely nourish your spirit. You stopped entertaining empty, meaningless conversations. You stopped forcing yourself into friendships that required you to drastically shrink your personality. You began, intentionally, choosing profound peace over temporary popularity, deep substance over shallow attention, unwavering purpose over tiring performance, and restorative silence over chaotic noise. This shift did not happen because you suddenly became cold or distant. It happened because you became profoundly clear, your spirit matured exponentially, your innate discernment became razor sharp, your standards for what you allow into your life rose dramatically. And then you started noticing something that was both unsettling and incredibly beautiful. The very moments when you felt the most utterly alone were consistently the moments when you experienced the deepest spiritual awakenings. The deepest separations produce the highest level of clarity. The betrayals you endured produce the strongest, most non-negotiable personal boundaries. The quiet, barren seasons produce the loudest, most undeniable revelations. It is as if every single time life emptied your hands of something you held dear, the divine immediately filled your vision with a new perspective. Every time people silently disappeared, your discernment powerfully appeared. Every time the external noise left, a crystal, clear sense of direction arrived. This is not a random series of events. This is a consistent, deliberate pattern, meticulously written into the unique journey of the chosen. The divine separates you before he positions you for greatness. He consistently removes every distraction before he releases your core assignment. He intentionally allows for a period of distance so that your spirit can grow to become undeniably powerful. Because if you remained connected to everything and everyone, you would never be able to fully connect to the singular, all-consuming power of your true purpose. That is the fundamental reason why the isolation kept happening relentlessly. It was not life punishing you for a mistake. It was the divine actively preparing you for the next level. And here is the part that should make you pause and truly absorb the gravity of this. The very fact that you survived those profoundly lonely seasons without developing a crippling bitterness is absolute proof of a strength most people will never, ever be able to develop. You didn't just passively endure the separation, you were actively and powerfully shaped by it. This is definitive evidence that something monumental is rapidly approaching, and it will require the uniquely matured version of you that only solitude could have created. And once you completely understand what you are being prepared for in the silence, you will realize that the next sign is already fully active and operational, even if you have never been able to clearly name it. Something fundamental changed very quietly inside you. At first, you didn't even acknowledge it to yourself. You simply became aware that you no longer processed the world around you in the same superficial way. Casual conversations felt astonishingly transparent. Smiles felt readable and full of hidden meaning. The true intentions of others revealed themselves before their words were fully formed. You began to see right through people without even having to consciously try. This seeing was not rooted in personal judgment or suspicion. It was a clear, precise awareness. Social masks stopped working in your presence. Fabricated stories stopped being convincing to you. What once took you months of analysis to realize now takes you mere seconds to know intuitively. This is not cynicism or social paranoia. This is discernment activating at an incredibly high level. You no longer need mountains of evidence to trust what you inherently sense to be true. When something is genuinely off, you immediately feel it in your body. When something is perfectly aligned with your truth, your entire body relaxes without a single logical explanation. You are now reading the subtle pauses in conversation. You are hearing the crucial words that are intentionally not being said. You are noticing the tiny shifts in tone, energy, timing, and most critically, you no longer override that internal knowing simply to keep the peace or avoid a moment of social discomfort. That inner voice of truth, which was once quiet and easily dismissed, now speaks with undeniable authority, and you instinctively listen to its every word. This is why external validation has begun to completely lose its suffocating grip on your life. Casual compliments no longer inflate your ego. Unsolicited criticism no longer destabilizes your core. External approval feels pleasant but utterly unnecessary for your confidence. Disapproval feels uncomfortable but ultimately irrelevant to your path. This is not because you no longer care about people. It is because your core guidance no longer originates from external sources. It flows powerfully and reliably from within you. Important decisions are no longer made by seeking a group consensus. They are made by seeking internal alignment. You are no longer asking as many desperate questions as you once did, because the answers are often arriving instantly, even before you fully finish forming the doubt. Your natural sensitivity has sharpened incredibly, but not in a fragile, easily wounded way. It has sharpened in a precise, powerful way. You can feel the distinct energy in any room you enter. You can sense the fundamental truth hidden behind opportunities. You now know with certainty when the timing for something is wrong, even if all rational logic says, move forward now. You know exactly when to wait without falling into panic. You know precisely when to act with zero hesitation. This is not agonizing overthinking. This is timing awareness, and I want you to know that timing awareness is one of the most consistently underestimated forms of true power. It prevents you from foolishly forcing open doors that were never meant to be yours, and perfectly prepares you to walk confidently through the ones that were always designated for your arrival. Notice how debilitating confusion no longer lingers in your mind the way it once did. You may still be faced with genuine uncertainty, but it no longer paralyzes your ability to act. Doubt may knock loudly at your door, but it is no longer invited to stay and unpack its bags. There is a quiet, powerful certainty underlying everything you do now, a sense of profound internal order. You no longer require every single answer to confidently move forward. You trust the direction completely, even when the full, detailed map is not yet visible to your eyes. This is not a form of blind faith. It is familiarity. Your spirit now deeply recognizes the terrain of your destiny. This is the critical turning point that many individuals will tragically never reach in their lives. Before this point, you searched frantically for signs everywhere. Numbers, people, events, words from others. And those signs helped you for a season. But now, something profoundly deeper has occurred. The signs have completely stopped shouting at you from the outside world and have started speaking clearly from within your very soul. Guidance has become fully internalized. Direction has become completely embodied. You no longer have to chase frantically after external confirmation. You now carry confirmation within your core being, and this is the single moment that matters the most to your journey. This is the moment when the chosen one finally stops the frantic search and begins the essential process of remembering. Remembering what truly feels authentic to your core. Remembering what consistently drains your energy. Remembering what brings you into perfect alignment. Remembering who you fundamentally were before the world constantly attempted to tell you who you should be. This is not about learning a new concept. It is about powerfully reclaiming something ancient and intrinsic to your soul. Once you cross this crucial spiritual threshold, there is absolutely no going back to using confusion as your identity. You may still hesitate briefly, but you will never again be truly lost. You may pause for reflection, but you will never wander aimlessly because the essential compass is now permanently installed inside you. And once that occurs, profound manifestation is no longer a theoretical concept. Your personal influence is no longer accidental, and the next undeniable sign does not simply arrive quietly. It moves incredibly fast and powerfully. There eventually comes a powerful moment when perfect alignment stops being a simple, abstract idea and starts becoming visibly, undeniably real. You may not have announced this shift to the world. You may not have even fully trusted it yourself at first. But suddenly, reality itself began to respond fundamentally differently to your energy. Your focused thoughts no longer remain trapped solely in your mind. Your decisions no longer simply float away without tangible consequence. What you choose to intensely focus on has begun to move immediately. What you declare with unshakable conviction has started to rapidly take physical shape. Not instantly, not magically, but unmistakably faster and more consistently than ever before. This is the precise outcome that occurs when pure intention and clear assignment finally meet and merge. Think back to those long years when every effort felt impossibly heavy, when pure effort did not equal measurable progress. When you pushed, you planned, and you tried relentlessly, yet nothing seemed to open up for you. That period of profound stagnation was not a sign of failure on your part. It was simply containment. You were not delayed because you were deemed unworthy of your destiny. You were delayed because you were not yet spiritually ready to handle the weight of your assignment. Now, I want you to notice the profound contrast in your life today. What once required exhausting struggle now responds instantly to clear, confident clarity. What once demanded sheer force to move now glides forward with effortless flow. Important doors no longer need to be forcefully kicked in. They instantly recognize you and swing open. Opportunities suddenly align themselves perfectly instead of constantly resisting your efforts. Timing has completely stopped fighting against you. Momentum has now decisively replaced resistance in your life. This is also the exact time when you realize something completely unexpected. People begin to strongly gravitate toward you without you having to actively seek their attention. They come to you with deep, complex questions, with untold stories of their own, and with unspoken emotional needs. They seek you out not because you are actively advertising wisdom on a billboard, but because your very presence naturally communicates it. Conversations shift fundamentally when you choose to speak. Deep confusion in others settles down. Emotional chaos visibly stabilizes in their presence. People leave your company feeling noticeably clearer, calmer, and lighter than when they arrived, even if they cannot intellectually explain why this profound shift occurred. Influence at this high level is not about forceful persuasion. It is resonance. Your powerful energy answers deep questions for people before your words even have a chance to do so. You may not hold a formal title of authority. You may not possess a massive social platform. You may not even see yourself as a leader in the traditional sense. Yet your simple words consistently land differently on people. They carry substantial weight. They linger in the minds of others. They powerfully activate something fundamental within the souls of those who hear them. This is because true authority does not originate from a given position. It comes directly from purification of the spirit. Your voice now carries power because it was meticulously shaped by long seasons of profound silence, by unwavering endurance, and by rigorous obedience in the moments when absolutely no one was watching your effort. Your credibility was not simply given to you. It was fiercely earned internally through trial. And this is precisely where the concept of ethical power becomes critically important. Manifestation works reliably for you, not because you desperately desire more material possessions, but because you consistently desire perfect alignment with your purpose. Your heart has been severely refined. Your motives have been stripped clean of all selfish ego through intense loss. You have tasted bitter disappointment enough times to know that you do not desire hollow, meaningless success. What you choose to call into your life now must ultimately serve a greater, selfless purpose. That is the primary reason why reality now consistently responds to your requests. That is why powerful movement in your life accelerates so rapidly. The universe, the spiritual realm, and your specific path are no longer in constant conflict. They have achieved perfect, powerful synchronization. This is the watershed moment when your life stops feeling random and chaotic. Consistent patterns reveal themselves. Your entire past history begins to connect seamlessly. The pain, the waiting, the separation, the protection, the clear discernment, all of it converges powerfully into one single, undeniable understanding. You are not surviving aimlessly from one event to the next. You are being rigorously trained with intense, focused intention. Your personal story is not chaotic. It is precisely and divinely ordered. Your life is not a random series of tragic accidents. It is a mission of paramount importance, unfolding in a precise, logical sequence. And here is the subtle yet most powerful shift of all. You stop asking the hesitant question, "What exactly am I supposed to do with my life?" And you start asking the empowering question, How do I wisely steward the immense power and responsibility that has already been entrusted to me? That specific question marks the moment of full activation. That question signals your complete readiness for the next level. Because once your personal mission activates, your influence automatically multiplies. Your power of manifestation sharpens to a point, and your responsibility increases exponentially. Something far larger than your personal self is now beginning to move powerfully through you. This is not the end of your long journey. This is the exact moment when the journey finally reveals its true, majestic name. And what comes next will not simply affirm who you already are. It will demand, with absolute certainty, that you walk fully and powerfully in that truth every single day. Now, listen extremely closely, because this final section is not an ending. It is a powerful, undeniable seal on the truth you have just received. Every single loss you questioned, every single delay that filled you with frustration, every single betrayal that cut you deeper than words, every silent season where absolutely nothing seemed to make sense. None of it was wasted effort. None of it was random chance. None of it was meant to permanently break you. It was all meticulously shaping your vision for the future. It was relentlessly training your discernment to be sharper. It was ruthlessly purifying your deepest intentions. It was aligning your spirit with something far, far greater than personal comfort and ease. You are fundamentally not the same person who began this journey of self-discovery. You are no longer the person who chronically doubted your own worth. You are no longer the one who passively waited for external permission to move. You are no longer the one who desperately searched for endless confirmation outside of your own soul. You now walk with an unshakable certainty, not because life has suddenly become easier for you, but because your profound clarity has grown infinitely stronger than any fear you might face. This is the definitive season shift in your life. Your alignment is tightening rapidly. Your personal momentum is accelerating exponentially. Doors now respond entirely differently to your approach. Timing obeys your command with precision. Your spirit recognizes massive opportunities long before they even appear on the physical horizon. This is no longer a phase of mere preparation. Preparation already happened in the solitude, in the isolation, in the resistance, and through the endurance you demonstrated. This is the moment of full activation. From this exact point forward, you are not simply reacting to life's events. You are moving forward with focused, deliberate intention. You are powerfully manifesting through your core purpose. You are carrying immense influence without having to force it onto anyone. You are walking with undeniable authority without needing to announce your arrival. And here is the final, fundamental truth you must carry with you into this next phase. You were miraculously preserved when others fell away. You were fiercely protected when others were dangerously exposed. You were strategically separated when others chose to simply blend in with the crowd. You have been fully activated when others continue to remain spiritually asleep. There is absolutely no doubt remaining. Comment this declaration with every ounce of conviction you possess. I walk in my calling because what you choose to declare with your voice now instantly becomes perfect alignment. And perfect alignment accelerates your ultimate destiny. Walk knowing this truth, stand knowing this truth, move through the world knowing this truth. You are one of the most powerful chosen ones of this generation.